I'm all clear. Are you all clear?
Well, yeah, clearer than I've ever been.
Well, okay. Well, I'm glad the break was worth it for you. But I bought nectarines for us, and I was like, Mike, you gotta eat your nectarine before it goes bad. You know, it's nice and ripe right now. And he's like, nectarines? I was like, yeah, I bought nectarines. And they're so delicious right now, by the way. So, you just need to go get a nectarine. But anyways.
It's nectarine time.
Yeah. But he's like, oh, nectarines, you say? He goes, anytime I think of a nectarine, I think of Geefle and Gonk. I'm like, what? Geefle and Gonk?
He made that up.
No, and then he pulls up this old Sesame Street video of... I was like, what are you watching? It was like a YouTube video of this clip of them. And they're these aliens that live on this planet, and there's this nectarine tree.
Well, I vaguely remember
and they're trying to get the nectarines down, but like one of them's too short and he can't reach, and the other one is tall enough to reach, but he can't bend his elbows. So they have to work together to like get the nectarines. But it's the weirdest. Here, let me see if I can show it to you. But it's the weirdest. I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? How do you remember this? I've never seen this before in my life before he showed it to me. Although, who knows? Like, my memory for things like this are not the best. But he has this memory for things, which is astounding sometimes. Like, he remembers the most random things about his childhood and about, especially if there's music or something audible involved.
Deep cut.
I swear he's like, it's not like a photographic learner, but for auditory, like an auditory learner where he like hears something and it's just in his memory forever. I don't know. It's crazy. But it's such...
I guess some people just have that kind of brain.
I know. I wish I had that kind of brain, but I don't.
But I don't.
So I have to surround myself with brains.
Rely on him. Rely on his brain.
Yeah. Although he wasn't around when I was young, so it's hard to say like, hey. Well, I guess he knows like...
Remember my things.
Yeah, remember my things. But he does have that, I guess, what is it? Generational memory. What is it called? Peer? No, there's another word I'm thinking of. Where it's like, it's your peer. You grew up in the same time. See, memory. Memory doesn't serve me well. Your cohort, I think, right? Is that right? Cohort?
That sounds right.
It's cool. A group of people banded together or treated as a group, a supporter or a companion. Okay, maybe. Okay, yeah. So, for example, a cohort of people born in Mumbai in the year 1980. So, yeah, a cohort. He's my cohort. So there you go.
You can let him know that he has a new title.
That's his new job title. For the rest of his life, he has to remind me of my childhood. And I will just adopt his because, he'd be like, hey, remember that time we went down to the grocery store and bought tiddlywinks? I'll say, oh,
of course.
Yeah. That happens.
I remember those times. And then you just adopt, you just completely...
Yeah, you just take over.
You slowly, like, absorb all of his childhood memories into your own.
One memory, though, that I do have growing up was that I would skate, like, roller skate, and do, like, make-up dances and stuff with skate, while wearing skates, and... Anyways, that was, like, a thing. But,
Sure.
So I was trying... I told you, it was, like, Christmas time or something. I got skates again, and I was going to get back into skating. Not, like, really skating, just as an exercise, not getting out. I'm not going to be doing...
Before they made the gay jokes.
Oh, yeah. Before... I'm not going to be doing any choreography or anything, but, creating... Because I would do that growing up, but now I'm just doing it for the fun of just skating.
Sometimes I see my neighbor out in the yard doing it.
You know what's funny? Like, what kind of skating? Rollerblading or skating?
Skating.
Really?
Like quad wheel skating.
See, that's what I have. I used to have, I think we've talked about this, but I used to have rollerblades. They wrecked my ankles. I'm trying out the quad skates now. But is it weird that he's doing that? Do you find that weird?
She, and I don't know, not really, I guess. It's just interesting hobby. I took note of it, obviously. I think she usually has her phone like propped up on the back of her of her car. So I don't know if like she's sharing it with a group or something.
Oh yeah, she could be. So she just does it in her front yard?
Just like in her driveway, yeah.
Well, how can you really get any momentum?
She does like little spins and stuff. She doesn't really like do any like big
she's cool.
Big stuff.
She's got like moves.
I guess. I mean, it seems pretty amateurish, but it seems like she's having a good time.
Okay.
It looks like she's like learning to skate backwards and stuff, that kind of thing.
Oh, I'm so impressed with that because it's hard to start something new and like try out a new hobby. And so we might have even talked about this already, but so it's hard with the quad skates. I've noticed it's just harder to skate on asphalt or on even on like sidewalks and stuff like that. But I did go to a skating rink with them and I was like, oh, this is where I need to be because you just glide. There's no effort really. And it was fun. But then I started trying again outside because it's free, it's closed. So I could just go outside and do it. Which is fine. But then it got really, really hot. So I was like, and I was also trying to skateboard at the same time. I was trying to learn skateboarding and then do skating. It's a lot of balancing, like I don't know.
Yeah.
Like if
you got to work out those special muscles.
Yeah. It's weird how as an adult, you don't have those muscles anymore. But,
I don't think you had them as a kid. You just didn't care,
Maybe. Yeah. I don't know. But like the fall is so much farther as an adult than a child too. So it's not
true. You're all the way up there.
Yeah. So anyway, but it's been like torturously hot. So like I have just been put it off for several months now. But I kept saying like, maybe I should just go take them to the roller skating ring and skate there because it's indoors, AC, I still get my skate on, But then I'm thinking, is that weird as an adult, like as a single adult going to a skating ring? Is that kind of frowned upon? Would you say?
I mean, I guess probably, but not by law, but not by society. I don't think anybody cares. But,
by law? Is it a law that you can't do that?
I don't know
because it's like when you go to I feel like it's like going to a playground, but you don't have a child and you just kind of hang out at a playground, or you like climb on the playground and you start, I don't know, going down the slides and you're an adult. It's weird to me. And I feel like that it would be something similar. Anyways, but while we're on that so I kept thinking like, but then when we were there before, there were lots of other adults that seemed single, that weren't with like a family or anything that were skating. But I kind of thought they were weird. So then I'm trying to be this person.
Now you're trying to be weird.
And I'm like, I don't know. So it's not so much that I'm worried what people will think, like judge me in a, wow, you're weird way. More of like, I don't want it to be misconstrued, like I don't want to be seen as predatory, you know what I mean? And that's what's weird about like being an adult sometimes when you're with kids, because it's like, that you're not that, but then when you have certain interactions with children, you're like, ooh, like
people will just like wonder about your motivations.
Yeah.
Like, why are you hanging out with children?
Right.
It's like because they're doing cool stuff.
I know
I
they do cool stuff.
I want to be a kid again.
Exactly. And it kind of reminded me of this story that Tim told me. I don't know if he told you. He told me. So, but he was at a skating rink and he was there with Caleb, his son. And for those who don't know, Tim is our older brother. So if we ever say that, it's our older brother. But so he has a child. It was appropriate for him to be there at the skating rink. But he was sitting there like kind of watching Caleb skate, but he was sitting kind of near the bathrooms. And he was the only adult sitting there. There was no other adults around. And this little girl comes running past him and she's like urgently needing to go to the bathroom. So she goes into the bathroom, but then like shortly thereafter, she comes back out of the bathroom and she's crying. Like she can't get her pants undone and pulled down because like the zipper's stuck or something.
Oh no.
And so she runs to him and is like, can you help me take my pants off? And he's like, and she goes, I need to go. And she's like freaking out because she's like,
every adult man's worst nightmare.
Right. So he doesn't know what to do. And he's like, well, where's your parents? You know, she's like, they're not here. They're way over there. They can't help me kind of thing. And she's like, help me, please help me. And he's like, I can't, like, I don't know. Like so he didn't help her because he didn't want to be inappropriate. And then she's standing there and she pees herself. And
no.
she's just like mortified. She's crying. She's looking at him like, you bastard. Like,
oh my God.
He's like, I don't know what. I'm so sorry. But that's the thing. He's like,
let me teach you, child, about statutory laws.
Yeah, exactly. So he's like, I wanted to help, but I was not about to cross any lines, you know. So he's like looking around, you know, for her parents, and he doesn't see any other adults around, like close enough that could be her parents. So.
Right, you're like, I need an adult. And she's like, you are an adult.
Yeah. But it's so true that it's like, oh, kids don't understand these things. Like some kids in therapy, like they want to come to my house or they want to, you know, like do things like
let's be friends outside of this.
Yeah, it's like I have this one little girl. She's like, you're my best friend. Will you spend the night? And I'm like, no, that's not gonna. Why can't you stay? You could come over one weekend. We could have a slumber party. I'm like, no, it doesn't work that way. I'm sorry. And you hate to let them down, but at the same time, you're like, I'm sorry. This is you have to learn that you can't have these kinds of relationships and things with adults. But yeah, it's just crazy.
And her mom's like, you're staying over for the weekend? And she's just like behind her nodding vigorously. And you're like, no.
I know. And actually, like one time, one of the kids asked me for my home address. Like she wanted to send me mail, you know, like, which was very sweet. But it's like, this is not that kind. I mean, because you just get so close to them that they feel, yeah. And I'm like, well, and they're like, well. Then they feel hurt, like, well, why can't you know? And I'm like,
you gotta have a PO box like you're a celebrity.
That's true, I guess.
Or maybe just could you send it to like your office address? And
yeah, they probably could, but I just avoided the whole thing. So
I'm sorry, little girl. I'm out.
Sorry, bye. Yeah, and they always ask me to come on like when I'm not working there. So it's like. Oh, because I only have an hour session or something for therapy. Yeah. And they're like...
It's like, come over on Saturday and we'll have watch some cartoons.
Why can't you stay longer? Why don't you come over on Friday? Or, I come over on Saturday. We'll hang out when you... And I'm like, I can't. But it's cute. But at the same time, it's like, ew, I feel bad.
Yeah, I can't imagine how it feels for, like, teachers and stuff. But
Yeah, I'm sure they have the same issues. But other than that, I'm... dog watching. I have 2 dogs with me, a lab. Well, I'm sorry, it's a golden retriever and a Scottish dog. What are they called? Like little Scotties?
Oh, like a... Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say like a Scottish water dog, but I think you mean a Schnauzer.
A Schnauzer, yeah. A Schnauzer.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I couldn't think of the name, like, what the... I think it's called a Schnauzer.
I'm Googling Scottish Terrier. Is what I was thinking.
Yeah. It's like, like a Scottish Terrier. Anyway.
Or a Scotty. You're right.
It's a Scotty. He's really cute. He's like so sweet. I've never had a dog that I've sat for as sweet as that dog so far. Aww. He's like really, I don't know, really sweet. And the big golden's obviously very sweet. Golden retrievers are the sweetest. But, it's a different kind of sweet. So anyway, it's been a long time. They've been with me for like 2 weeks now, and they go home tomorrow. So, you know, I think we're all ready for that to happen.
So, have you ever like just wanted to keep one of the dogs you're sitting for? You're just like, how much?
No.
You're like, not that far.
No, I mean, like. Like I said, like Louis is the Scotty. He is probably like the closest I've come to being like, I've never been a small dog person. I've always been a medium to large dog person. Like I just gravitate towards them. They seem they have like such sweet personalities typically. I don't know, they're just fun, and I've just always liked them a lot more, because like smaller dogs have always been kind of annoying to me. They bark at me every time, or they'll nip at you, or I don't know, different. But I think Louis has changed.
They have a different energy.
They definitely do. Yeah. He's changed my heart a little bit, because he's just like so good and sweet, and just, I mean, he does bark at me when I get home, because he's pissed off that I left him, and he gets really upset when I come home. He actually...
How absolutely dare
I know.
you.
It's like he will actually bite my hand when I go down to pet him, but not hard. It's more like he just puts his teeth on me, and he's
like, just so you know, I could do it.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, I'm just so mad at you. I'm so mad. Ah! And he's like, but I won't bite you, but I want to. It's like, that's his full-on worst trait, which is really not that bad, considering, you know, I don't know. But he's just like right now, he's just laying there sweetly. He's very calm. He's chill. I don't know. He's like a low, what's the word? Just like low maintenance dog. So yeah, I don't know. And he's, I don't know. He's just so
what do you
cute.
do about that?
I don't know.
I feel like little dogs always act like they're big and tough.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if it's something where they have to compensate by just like having such a chaotic energy that like nothing will eat them.
Right.
But they always come in hot. Like they're
They do, yeah.
Like they're the biggest dog. Like meanwhile, a German Shepherd will just be like scared and running.
Yeah, it's true. Oh, I thought of another toxic trait that he has is. I learned this.
This episode's called Dogs Toxic Traits.
Well, Louis' toxic traits. But so another like terrible thing that he does is he tries to kill anyone on a bicycle when we're walking. So they gave me these retractable leashes, because I walk both dogs at the same time, but on these retractable leashes. And we were walking, and normally they're very good walkers. Like they walk right next to each other, either on either side of me or either side of each other. Like they're very good.
Totally gentle souls.
They don't walk in the middle of the street. They'll walk like, you know, on the side. They are very respectful, whatever. But then comes along a bicycle, a man on a bicycle. I had no...
Reasonable thing to run into on a walk?
Yeah, exactly. I had no idea his rage against bikes. Okay, well, like, it wasn't a rage, actually. It was like, he just ran at the bike in the middle of the... Like, he just ran into the street at this bike, and I'm like, Louis, no! And then I'm trying to, like, pull him away, and he's still, like, trying to, like, run under the bike. I swear the man could have fallen off his bike. He was so shook by this dog running out in front of him. And I would be too. I'd be like I probably would have crashed my bike, you know, but
well, as we've heard.
But we know that I'm not the best cyclist. So speaking of which.
Especially when vicious animals are up
yeah. Maybe that's part of it. Maybe it's part of my own trauma being reenacted. But
like from really close up, Louis looked like he was a bear chasing that man
right
down.
And then so it happened that time, and then another time I wasn't paying attention to Louis because Oliver, the other dog, was getting into something in the road or in the grass, so I was trying to like pull him away from whatever it was, and I was looking, and then the bike comes through and he like darts towards his bike and almost jumps into the man's lap while he's cycling. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like you are going to be the death of me and this man. So yeah, that's a bikes.
That man now owns a dog.
Bikes do not. Yeah.
By proximity law.
Right. Yeah. If he jumps in your lap, it's yours. But other than that, he's awesome. Oliver is just the best too. Like he's the best dog. He's golden, so he's a white golden though. He's like pure white, and
wow.
He's
an Arctic golden.
An Arctic golden, but he's also very sweet, very well behaved, walks very nicely. I got really lucky with these two, but still, like after 2 weeks, you're kind of like, disrupting your normal flow of life. It's it's a whole thing. They wake me up super early. And Mike keeps me up super late, so my sleep is kind of all over the place. And this is just turning into complaining, but I'm really not complaining because it's like I'm really happy to do it, and I love it. I'm just saying. Tomorrow.
But it has a toll. It has a cost.
What I'm saying is...
You're being honest.
Yeah, I'm being honest.
To all the potential would-be dog sitters out there.
I mean, it's nice for, a few days. And it's nice for a couple weeks, too. It's just like... It just changes things up. But they're going home tomorrow. And then after that, I'm leaving. So... That's my life update.
Well, that's good. You're not taking them on the plane?
No, not this trip. Not this time. But what I'm really kind of stressing about, because, okay, here's another thing about the dogs, is that they're dirty. And
as dogs will be.
Yes. Bluey, okay, this is another toxic trait. He is like a...
Why do you have a whole back pocket of these?
It's not his fault, though. He is a walking glue stick. I call him super glue because he walks around.
He's sticky?
Yeah, he's sticky. Everything sticks to him. Everything. Like, if he passes by a leaf, it's attached to him. If he passes by a stick or anything, like, it'll attach itself to his body and he's dragging it along. And then when he gets home, he has all of these things inside of his hair all over the place. And then he pulls them out and gets it all over the house, which is whatever. I mean, yeah. And then, so they're both they both drag in so much sand, and obviously they shed. So there's hair everywhere. And so, and then there's like food from their toys, or like from their, they're like food toys and whatever. And so
food toys, toys, and
like
toys.
the Kongs, you fill them up with like peanut butter and like treats and stuff. And then they chew them up, but then the crumbs get everywhere. Anyway, so I like to have things, clean, especially when I'm leaving on vacation. Like if I'm about to leave, I don't want to leave my house dirty. And they are literally leaving the night before I leave. And I leave at like 3:45 in the morning. So I'm like, when am I going to have time to deep clean my house? I'm not, basically. I'm just not. So that's kind of stressing me out because I'm like, I can't leave I don't know. So that's on my mind, but it'll be fine. It'll be fine.
It seems like every podcast you're just perpetually going on vacation.
It sounds like that because we go out.
But you've never actually been on one.
I know. We just say that to make up like for the missed time. But yeah, I didn't go on the one last time. That's this time. So
confused yet?
Yeah, you confused? Anyways, any life updates for you?
No, I mean, not pretty much just still doing, I guess, sort of smart home stuff. I did the, I made a NAS for my home. That's not really a smart home thing. That's just a tech thing. Okay, I have a NAS, which is super helpful. It's like, I think a lot of people have NASs these days where it's just like a place to dump files on your network. But I've only had one like once a long time ago, and I just forgot how freaking useful it was to just getting something between like my phone and my computer, or my phone and my work computer, or between my work computer and my normal computer. It's so annoying. And so it's just nice to have, like, instead of like fumbling with flash drives and stuff, or like figuring how to send something over Bluetooth. It's so handy. And it's nice that I got like tons of storage. So I have like one that's like 16 terabytes so that I can just like throw everything I want in it. And it's glorious and using up like no space. Like I'm dumping basically every backup I have had since like the beginning of time, and it's just like, oh yeah, that's like 10%.
So
it's beautiful.
Obviously, like I'm assuming if something happens to this thing, you're screwed.
No, I'm trying to get it backed up, but I'm finding the solution that would be cheapest, I suppose. Yeah. So I've thought about like on-site backing up myself. I mean, obviously these backups existed other places before it was on the NAS. So the NAS itself is kind of a backup of all the random things I have elsewhere. But yeah, no, I'm trying to get it all like backed up online in the cloud and everything. But that will be like deep storage, and only if I need to like recover something. You know? But for like quick access storage, like having it just like right there on my network, especially like because I can I have all my media and stuff on there, so I could like spin up a Plex server, and then I have like my own like at home Netflix, so to speak. So that'd be super cool.
I don't have a backup of anything.
Yeah, see, that's why you got to get a massive 16 terabyte storage solution so that you can just dump everything. See, you're like, oh, if that thing goes down, you're screwed. But at least it's a backup, right?
Yeah, I guess that's true. Can you get ones that are like indestructible? Like they're waterproof and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, if your house burns down, it's pretty much kaput. But yeah, that's where like an offsite backup is going to be your best friend.
Well, I mean, I have Dropbox, but I don't know. Like,
yeah, but that can't back up like your whole computer or like every computer you've had.
Okay, so I don't know if this is super dangerous, but I have all of my important stuff on my Dropbox, but I don't have it backed up on my computer. So, like, if Dropbox goes down, or like
you're pretty secure. They have like redundant data and stuff. Yeah. So, I mean, it would be rough. That'd be quite a day if I think you would not be alone if Dropbox lost some data. And yeah, I think there would be a lot of people that would be like, oh my God, all my backups.
Yeah. I don't know. So I just bought I signed up for their, I think it's 1 terabyte storage or whatever. Because I mean, I've been using the free version forever, and I technically could still use it. Well, actually, I'm doing a 30-day trial, so I haven't actually signed up for it yet. But I did it because they have this feature on there where you can access everything offline, which I don't know how that's possible. But, yeah.
I assume it downloads it to your device, right?
I don't know. That's the thing is, like, well, I'm going on this vacation, so I thought, well, I might need to access something, and I'd be nice if I could access it without the internet, but I don't know. We'll see how it goes. So I'm doing the 30-day trial.
I assume it's like a situation where it keeps it in sync with Dropbox, but it keeps it on your phone, so it will like it essentially is if you're using Dropbox, and if the internet drops out, you're still quote unquote using Dropbox, but only of the files that you have downloaded.
Right. I don't think you can like upload new stuff until you're back online or so whatever.
And then it'll just like
or maybe you could use cellular, connection again, I guess. But yeah. But I also wanted to kind of for pictures and stuff, like it automatically uploads pictures that you take, so you always have a backup, I guess. So let's say one day I'm on vacation and I'm taking all these awesome photos, and then they're like, upload to Dropbox, and then you lose your phone or something the next day. You didn't lose anything. Right.
If you have it to like automatically sync upstream, you got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But doesn't like iCloud and stuff do that for you?
I don't have iCloud.
I have.
I mean, really? I have it, but I don't pay. Like, you have to pay for it to, like, it's the same thing. So I use Dropbox instead of iCloud, basically.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, Google does that as well. And I think the photos, like in standard, they might reduce the quality slightly, but I think they will like store an unlimited amount, essentially. Like, as long as they're not like over a certain size, they'll just like store an infinite amount of them.
Nice.
So that's really cool because like it's essentially like I have every photo and video that I've like had since the dawn of time, and it's not really like counting against the videos might. I don't know. That's a good question, but I know that the so far the pictures haven't, so that's cool. I actually, though, I will say that I do back up now on my NAS, back up like the original files because I just like to data hoard, I guess.
Well, that's another thing. It's like I have this weird, like hoarding situation where I'm like, it seems so wasteful to have so many files here and have the exact same files here. another place, and it's like, but I already have those files. Now I'm wasting all this data for this.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's like, I guess
for me, it's like, I don't think of it as wasting, but it does get annoying if you can't remember which one is like the most up to date. Like for something like a picture that's not going to change, that's fine. But like if it's a document or something, and then it's like, is this the latest version, or did I have the latest version somewhere else?
Yeah,
that's the worst.
That's true. I know that, well, I'm just saying it's like it's one of those irrational things in my brain, because it's like, I know there's an infinite amount of data out there. It's not like I'm taking somebody else's data by storing it twice. It's just the thought of it taking up, like, why, like, it's just excess. So I'm like, but it's definitely not wasteful, because obviously it's going to help you if you need it, if something happens, you never know.
Yeah. See, part of this is also, I'm trying to solve, there's a lot of reasons I did this, but yet another one is having a NAS. I'm hoping will solve my mail issue. So I hate physical mail and dealing with it. But then also sometimes there's like useful stuff, but then it's always like semi-useful stuff that it's like, can I get this online? Should I like store this for later? Sometimes it's like the entire like packet from my health insurance or something. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, it's like 200 pages. And I'm like, is this like just a resource that I can find online? But I don't want to do that, because I was just getting the mail for a second while I was like running in. So it would be nice to just like shove it in like a little feeder, and then like a scanner, scan all of my documents and stuff that I get from the mail, and then automatically upload it to my NAS drive, and then do some OCR on it so that I can like search by keywords and stuff, and then just have essentially like, it's now web pages instead of physical documents.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
or
a
emails,
good point.
Essentially. It turns my physical mail into emails. That's what I want.
Yes, paperless. I have that problem too with a lot of mail, and I do actually have a scanner, but I just never take the time to do it. But that's a good point, because I have so many little papers where I'm like, how long do I have to keep these? That's another thing, is like, there should be some program where you could say anything after that you uploaded after a certain date can get deleted, because you don't need it anymore. It's just old bills or old, paperwork or expired policies or whatever.
Yeah, you can automatically do that cleanup based on like the date it was created, right? Like if you at a certain point you're like, you know what, I don't care about anything after July of 2011.
Right. I know. And here's another thing. It's like,
or before rather.
You can pretty much find anything. Sorry, I keep yawning because apparently I'm tired. But
from all your vacationing,
yeah, I'm just life is so hard. There's so, but like I had to fix some stuff in my car, and I was trying to look through the user manual in my car forever. I was like trying to find what I needed. And I'm like, why am I doing this? And I'll just Google it. And then I Googled it and I found it immediately. And I was like, boom. Why do I need this huge thing? Like, I have so much stuff in my little glove box for my car. Like, and my car, like, the user, like, there's so many books for just the car. And I never look at them. I'm like, why do I need so many books for my car? Why does it even come with that many? I don't know. But I'm tempted to just throw them away, but I'm thinking like, well, what if I need them one day when I'm on the road and I can't have internet? I don't know.
Yeah, true. So, I feel like, again, another situation, like if you have it set up that easy to scan in stuff, you could just like, well, it'd be hard for a book, but you could scan them in and then, or download the PDF from, Honda's website or whatever, and then like throw it into a flash drive or something and just put like a little like mobile compatible flash drive in your glove box, and then that saves like a ton of space.
There you go. Now you're thinking. It's true. I just wish I had somebody to do all this stuff for me.
Yeah, that's the thing. You gotta go through the effort of doing it all. Well, that's why I'm like, mostly an automated situation. Like if I the most I'll do is pull a staple out. Pretty much. If they're gonna send me a whole booklet of 400 pages of like how my health insurance impacts whatever, I'm just throwing it out, and I'm hoping that I can find it somewhere online if I need it.
Yeah, hopefully it's also something that's not important. I think of that too. Also, when you get rid of papers, let's say like it's a bill or even just random mail, Do you shred it or do you just throw
every
it?
time, Lisa?
You do?
Do you not?
No, I don't.
Do you not?
No.
It's probably because you don't have a wife that's obsessed with using her shredder.
Oh, okay. Well, Mike has one, and he likes it, and he uses it for his stuff. And I'm thinking, like,
just
really, you're
say, here
shredding
you go.
everything?
More things for Hungry Hippo.
Well, the thing is, I'm like, is it really unsafe to throw away mail? Like, could somebody do something? And well, I
mean, I guess there is some mail that's sensitive, like credit cards or whatever, unactivated credit cards. I don't know if people could do something with that, but
well, yeah, that's true. But I'm like, I don't know, because so he won't throw away anything that has basically like his address or phone number or like any personal information whatsoever. He'll shred that, and I'm like, oh. Should I be shredding everything? I don't. I just throw it away.
Of course you should.
And now I do wonder sometimes, am I just being lazy and it's going to come back to bite me someday? But so far it hasn't. So knock on
so
wood.
far we're good.
Knock on wood.
I think the problem is it's one and done. The one time that screws you over, you're like, dang it.
Yeah. Well, see, here's the problem though, because he has piles and piles and piles that he hasn't gotten to shredding yet. And so now there's these piles, and they just wait to be destroyed or fed or whatever. It's like, but I don't know. Maybe it's good. The other thing I was going to say is I am trying to do, you've heard of it. Everybody's heard of it, but I think it's called
I have not actually.
Marie Kondo's decluttering thing.
No, never heard of it.
You liar.
Does this spark joy?
Right, exactly. So not specifically her thing, but like I am trying to get rid of things that mainly the things that I put in the back of a closet or I don't know, a drawer or somewhere. And even when because I do periodically go through and declutter stuff. But I will still hang on to things thinking, oh,
this brings me joy.
Yeah. Like I might wear that one day or I might need that one day or something. I'm not really bad about it, but like there are certain things that I think I'm just not ready to let go of that yet. And so I'll keep it, but then I won't look at it for a year. And and then I think like, why did I keep that? And I still want to keep it. And I'm like, why do I still want to keep this?
I think that's part of like why Marie Kondo's thing like works so well is because most of these types of systems will say like, okay, do you have a place for this? Or do you use this like however so often? But like that doesn't really like flatly apply to everything. And some things like are just like obviously there's like pictures on the wall, like they have no purpose. So it's like, and you never do anything with them. So it's like, do you still need to keep them? Like, there are certain things that just exist to be like, you know, an emotional attachment or to be something that you use just like very rarely. And so I feel like that's where like her advice gets to the heart of it. Her popular advice, she has lots of advice, but the popular advice of, like, does this spark joy is like a thing where it's like, is keeping this actually going to make you happier or not?
Yeah.
Is it going to annoy you that this thing still exists in your house and you're just holding on to it because in some like very small way, is it like, oh no, I should keep this?
Right. Yeah, exactly. So I
don't know. I might need it one day.
Yeah, you never know. That's the thing.
Yeah. I think
there's lots of things that are like that where I'm like, I have like a drawer full of pots and pans and things like for the kitchen. But there's layers under that of cooking things that I've never even used and I've had for years. I'm thinking,
well, once the stuff on top breaks, you'll have a whole new layer to
explore.
Well,
it's not the same stuff. It's like different stuff.
Exactly. You'll have to change your whole method of cooking. Yeah.
That's the thing. I was like, what if something breaks? What if I could use this one day? Or I don't know. So I'm just going to do that probably after I get back from this vacation and just kind of like purge some stuff. I love doing that, but there have been times where I have gotten rid of too much stuff and I'm thinking, and then I do regret it. I'm thinking like, oh, I just had that and then I got rid of it. You know, like that time comes where you need the thing and you're like, oh,
should the advice be inverted? So it's like, will not having this cause you misery?
Yeah.
Regret.
Right. So one of the main things I want to go through is like my therapy space, because I have so many
not feeling therapeutic
toys and stuff like that I've worked with kids with and stuff. And I don't know, just different activities and whatever. And I always think, oh, I'm going to get another kid on my caseload that could really benefit from this. Or I don't know, something. But I just end up not using them. I don't use it. There's
with an infinite amount of things.
Yeah, and it's just piling. Like I get more things because I think, oh, this could work for this kid, but honestly, I need to get this because it's more appropriate for the situation. And so I end up just purchasing something different for them, and then I end up more stuff. And that's like my biggest like area that I need to really dive deep into. So and get rid of.
Yeah,
so.
and then that's a weird area because it's like, well, this be useful to my job,
right?
Yeah,
but
definitely had to like more than I'm ever comfortable with. I'm like hoarder material, but the thing is, I don't tend to accumulate things very quickly. Like I tend to be very selective about the kind of stuff I get, and then so I like want to keep everything that I get.
Yeah.
But I've gotten to the point, like, especially in this house, like I finally have my house and I can move like all the stuff that I've had in storage and the stuff that I've like had at my mom's house and the stuff that I've had like, you know, like just using day to day. Everything is here now, and it's stacked up like higher than stuff that like anywhere I can put it. And so I'm like, there's a catharsis now of just like throwing some stuff out and being like, kind of for the first time, for me, just being like totally like not remorseful at all about getting rid of like some stuff that I've had forever, like
oh, that's
since
good.
I was a kid. And I'm just like, whatever, get out of here.
Whatever.
I
think you have to get to that point.
Keep this long?
I think that's like, you know, like when you get rock bottom and then you make a change. It's kind of like that.
I'm space bankrupt.
Yeah, that's true.
So, yeah, I'm maximum object bankruptcy. I
know.
Yeah, it's fun, but then still, obviously, like I reach a point where I can no longer do it, and I still have too much stuff. So we'll have to find some storage solutions.
Yeah, that's true. Well, hopefully we can both do that one day. It's always a process. It's like every 5 years or so, you have the same conversation. In fact, I probably had the same conversation last year. So it's just an ongoing thing. But
I'm gonna have to do more custom shelving, Lisa.
Yep, you are. Actually, I just love home renovation stuff. Don't you? I don't know. I do.
Sure.
I mean,
except when I'm having to break my back doing it.
Right. But I kind of like that sometimes. But it depends on what it is. You're right. Like if it's really intense, no thanks. But I don't know. There's so many like ideas I have for the house and things I want to do. But like you said, it's just so... It seems so far out of reach in a lot of ways. But it's fun to dream and think about.
It's kind of expensive and time consuming.
Exactly.
But if you could like, I don't know, if you can like capitalize and turn it into profit, like switch, like become one of those like home decor Instagram channels that has like the little like quick IKEA hacks and stuff where they like transform a bookshelf to be a dresser, and you're like, wow, oh my god,
yeah,
so good.
True, I know. There's this girl I follow on Instagram, and it's kind of like that, where she basically renovated her entire home, and now she's bought another home that she's going to either rent or Airbnb or something, and she's renovating that one now. So, and everyone's like, wait.
She's out of content,
like,
so she had to get a new place.
Exactly. And like...
And suddenly she becomes a successful realtor, and she's like, wait, how did this happen?
Wait, this is nice. I mean, she does an awesome job, and so that's why, I mean, I love kind of like what she does, but people often ask her, like, how do you afford to do this? Like, it's expensive, and everything you're doing is pretty involved. It's intense. Like, they're breaking down walls, they're building, like, windows, they're redoing kitchens, it's like a whole thing. So, and, I mean, she obviously says she makes her money in certain ways, but then... Like you said, a lot of it too is, well, like she's had money saved up from previous life, whatever. But,
sure.
But yeah, like she does get sponsorships, and she gets content. She gets paid for the content she's putting out, so that does help her, bottom line at the
sure
point. So
the synergy,
yeah. So it's interesting, but
I ran into one that I think was much more helpful than the average one, because they have like, I feel like when you normally run into those people on Instagram that do the organization and renovation and hacks kind of stuff, that they're not as practical as they seem on the surface. Like they often have like, borderline personality disorder level, like OCD, like perfect shelves that have like the same item like stacked like 5 times. And it's like, who needs like 20 cans of beans of the exact same beans? I don't know.
Nobody.
Yeah, so it looks cool, but it's just like, it's like home decor porn. It's not really like anything that's substantial. And so there was this, I like this one channel that was, she was actually like a, what do you call them? An interior designer. And she had like ideas and stuff. Like, honestly, like a lot of things she came up with, like still left space looking kind of messy, but like, not messy, but like not as clean as they would in those kind of videos. But it's like, she's like, listen, you're actually gonna live in this space. It's like, if we're not like setting it up for a really like perfect catalog photograph, we're setting it up for you to actually exist in this space, and like how to essentially wrangle the mess, not necessarily like abolish it, because you can't abolish it because you are alive and you're gonna like put your wallet down somewhere. So like, why not have like a specially made little tray or something to catch it, where you're most likely to pull it out of your wallet every day, or pull it out of your pocket every day.
Right.
So it's like that kind of like
more
practical thinking about it. Yeah, that's just like not so much of like, because everything else seems practical, right? It's like, oh, that would be so cool. Like you just have to get these like little shelf dividers, and then you get all the little bottles of water, and you just put them all in a row, and but it's like, no, that's just like it's a fantasy for a nice cute little picture, and then you'd be like, why do I have like a whole shelf of bottles of water?
Then you hate it, so you're like, ugh.
Yeah. And then you come home from getting your bottles of water at Walmart or whatever, and they're not cute bottles, and you don't want them on the shelf, and they also come in this like perfectly fine like plastic tray thing, and so you're just like, I don't know, I'm gonna stuff this in my pantry and not think about it again.
Exactly. Actually, like that's happened to me recently. Well, kind of. I mean, I got these containers to hold fruits and vegetables and different things, so that it's supposed to be good to help with aeration and keep it fresh longer. But it really, so far in my experience, it really hasn't. But you have to take that extra step of taking everything out of the plastic that it comes in, or like, whatever, like the containers that you buy it in, wash it all and like put it in there. And I do like that aspect because it's like everything's prepped and ready to go. But I've just noticed like lately, well, probably the last month or so, I haven't been using them at all. I've just been putting the stuff in the fridge like normal. So I'm like
like a normal human being.
Yeah. And so I'm like, I don't know, is it practical or is it not practical? I mean, I like the concept, but it is extra work that doesn't necessarily have to be done. I don't know. So yeah.
Right. You've introduced the middleman.
Yeah, exactly. And I have definitely walked into homes where I felt like I was walking into a museum. And I think, how can you live here? Sure. It does not feel like a home. It feels like, like a stage almost, or a museum or something. Yeah.
It is probably just for you. Once you leave, they unbuckle their jeans. They're like, and their big fat belly plops out, and they're like, now I can be the real me.
True, yeah.
And they tear down the shelves, and it's all just a mess.
That's what Mike says sometimes. He's like, so there is one thing, and I think a lot of women can relate to this. And I don't know if it's something to do with like how women are kind of nesters and they like their home to be a certain way, but
well, you know how women
are. I just mean like, so when people come over, you want to clean up a little bit. Like you don't want it to be, like cluttered or messy or anything like that. Like you want it to be.
Well, I don't, because I'm a man.
Well, I don't know. Is that true? Because I only say this because I've spoken to many other women who have the exact same sort of like thing. And then their significant other or whatever is like, doesn't care at all. So that's just.
I feel like guys just in general try and talk down their ladies. They're just like, hey, don't worry about it so much. But yeah, okay, we'll clean up.
Maybe they just don't want the hassle of having to clean up. But yeah, I don't know. It's like he's always like, just leave it. Just
I certainly want my house to be clean,
right.
but I don't know if I want it to be like bleach clean.
Well, yeah, no, not like bleach clean. I just mean like not cluttered, like not having like plates on the counter in the sink, or like putting away, I don't know, the socks that are laying on the floor in the living room, like that kind of stuff. Where like before company comes. So, like, I'm always, whenever he's like, oh, my parents are coming over in, like, 5 minutes, they're on their way. I'm like, what? Like, wait a minute. And he's like, forget it. Like, don't worry about it. It's fine. And I'm like, no, but I want to wipe down the counter. I want it to, like, I don't know. I like to, like, make sure everything looks not perfect, but not a pigsty, I guess. Not that it always
presentable.
does, but, like, just little things like that. Like, I don't want, like, I don't know, just things. Yeah, I
mean, I guess it is always a little, like, you feel a little like you busted on someone. Because, like, everybody does that. Like, everybody cleans up. So, if you ever get to a state where you're at somebody's house and, like, there's some dirty piles of laundry around, some, like, pile of dirty dishes in the sink or something, like, you're not judging them because like you have that too, like you're going home to that, but it's just the fact that you somehow like got around their defenses. You bound into their house when they're unprepared and you're like, ha, I see the real you. It's like seeing somebody naked. It's like I know I have those things too, but seeing them is like awkward in a way and like personal.
It is very
overly
intimate.
personal, sometimes like, unwelcomely personal.
Yeah, it's like an intimate situation you just walked into. It's like, whoa, I wasn't ready to cross that line with you. But I mean, so it's funny because I work in a lot of homes and I go there every single week. And so, yeah, like they don't care. They're like, they're their self.
Yeah, well, like, at a certain point, you got to just be like, whatever.
I mean, I've walked into some really bad houses before where I'm like, but like,
well, let me tell you.
Yeah. But like, for the most part, I never judge that. I'm never like, ugh, like they didn't do their dishes or like, like I never have that thought. So I guess in Mike's or other men's point of view, it's true. Like most people probably don't really care, but it's like just a personal thing where like you said, where it's like, that's your personal space. And this is like a very intimate layout. And you want it to be more of like a company layout where it's like, you're presenting it differently to a company.
Yeah. It also comes, I think, a little bit with the attitude of the person. Like if I walk into somebody's house and I know them to be like somebody who like definitely tries to be, I guess, polite and like, have, I don't brand, I guess, like put out a certain like presentableness versus like somebody who's just like, oh yeah, come on in, just kick the pizza box off the chair and sit down. Like if they're totally cool with it, then it's like, all right, cool, I'm cool with that.
I mean, it depends on
if
the
I feel like
person,
if I've hacked them, if I've gotten in, then I feel like that's when it's awkward, and that's when it's obviously like they're kind of cringing a little bit because like, oh my god, what do they think?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I feel that like it's kind of like a respect thing. I think we did have that conversation once where I was kind of trying to explain it once. And I was like, no, you don't understand. It's like, I feel like I'm being disrespectful if like they come in and the house is a mess. Like it means I didn't take the time to, it's like not as welcoming. It's like, I'm welcoming you to my home.
Well, certainly be weird if you did it for everybody else but them. So it's like, it's an all or nothing situation, right? Yeah. You got to either be that person or you got to not be that person.
That's true. There are certain people that I don't care about it at all. Like,
but then they're probably like friends and stuff, right?
Yeah, like my mom.
The kind of people that you're close enough that it's like, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Don't clean up. It's just me.
But for most people I do because I don't know. It also gives you a really good excuse to clean because like I probably had been wanting to clean and I'm like, now's my time. And I have a good excuse to do it. So.
And it also, I feel like with any, a good way to be productive about anything is to have a deadline and time box it. Those can sound like the same things, but honestly, like it's not just like I'm not going to procrastinate this. It's like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do 20 minutes of cleaning and just whatever I can get done because they're coming.
Yes, that's true.
Whatever I can get done after the next 20 minutes, like that's what it's going to be. And honestly, you end up like with a pretty clean house and you're like, dang, man, I could have taken 20 minutes at any point in time here and had this clean house.
Yeah, that's true.
But you always think about it like, I got to clean my whole house. So you don't do it because you never think about like, I'm going to stop after 20 minutes or I'm going to like just do the dishes or something.
Right.
It's like,
I heard,
oh, dang, I have to like clean everything.
That's true. It's kind of like that procrastination thing. And I heard something recently. There was like something about how it's like a human condition to put pressure on yourself to do things. So a lot of people put things off to the last minute, and it's kind of like, I don't know, I forget what they said. If it was like a survival thing where it's like you work better under pressure, or you make, I don't remember now, but it was kind of like how, like, it used to be where everything was kind of done in a survival mode.
Like as needed? As
needed, yeah. And so you sort of, your brain kind of like sometimes needs that, like necessity, or like, so you put it off so that now it's like, now you have to do it and it's a necessity, and it's like, I don't remember now, but it was really interesting at the time when I heard it. But
I wonder, like, for the super like type A people that are maybe even a little neurotic, where they like will clean their house like as soon as anything gets dirty.
Yeah.
I wonder if those people are like actually less efficient because they might end up, doing something more often than it needs to be done, or doing things like that ended up needing to not be done at like a certain time or whatever. And like, if you're really proactive, say about doing your laundry, but then you don't even like wait to get like a full load, for example, like it's like you're going to end up doing more work over the long run. Just like quote unquote, like being on top of things.
Yeah. That's true. So yeah, it's kind of probably one where it's probably both, because sometimes because they clean up, they can be more efficient because things are always in the right place and they don't have to like spend time worrying like, where is that thing? Or I don't know. But then other times you're right. I think some things could be put off and done all together at once rather than one thing here, one thing there, like whatever. So I don't know. It's an interesting thing to look into.
Yeah, definitely.
But I'm kind of in the middle though, because like Mike will tell you, I don't like when things are out of place necessarily. And if it starts to build up, I get really stressed out. And that's when I'm like, I need to clean, or I need things to be, because I feel like I can focus on everything else more if my surroundings are neat. So it just, I notice when my anxiety starts to get worse, I'm like, oh, things are not clean. Like I can tell in my brain, like I need to clean something or do something.
Yeah.
Like that.
I mean, it's been shown, like proven that like the more like I think it's also dependent on like if you clean it or if you set up your space. But also if just in general, if the space is more clean, you obviously like are able to be more productive and less distracted and stuff in those kinds of environments. Even if it's like stuff that you wouldn't think would be very distracting, like wires or something that's like not interesting, but it just something about it being like a chaotic mess in your visual space makes it kind of like your brain take on a chaotic mess kind of state.
Yes. But see, now that's funny that you said that, because he's very much like that with that kind of stuff. Like his like he's not a very neat and tidy person in terms of, like the things around the house. But when it comes to like his computer and his files and all of that, like it's pristine and it's like super organized. And also with wires and anything like
What's
that.
his organizational system? I feel like I can never nail down like the best way to do folders on my computer. Like there's always becomes a repository of random crap that I'm just like, this is my junk drawer of files.
Yeah, kind of. I understand that. I have so many folders on my computer that say something like random or temp. Like, this is supposed to be a temporary folder that I just put stuff in temporarily and that I'm going to move to other folders later. And I never do.
Random folders that are like, they say delete on them. And I'm like, I don't trust you.
Yes, right.
And I start looking through them.
Oh. But yeah, no, like with that kind of stuff. And like, yeah, he doesn't like when wires are showing.
Oh, no, you can't have
things
that.
like that.
Not
So yeah, I mean, he has his own things. So he's...
That's the only space that he cares to be clear-minded.
Yeah.
Everywhere else he wants to fog out.
Yeah, basically. But, I don't know. Everybody's different, so.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's freeing, right? If you just let go of like all the other spaces and you're just like, hey, listen, this is where I do work. Everywhere else, I'm just not going to think about it.
Yeah, that's true.
But, that only really works if you're, I don't know, relaxing and not too... like bothered by that kind of thing, because obviously some people just like can't relax, and I think that's also something that comes along with that psychological study that's like it's harder for people to relax in messy spaces. But I feel like whenever there's certain psychological studies where like, well, yeah, but like it's true, but it's also super obvious. Like I saw one recently that was like it felt like the stupidest study to have, but it was just like people feel more positive feelings when they're outside walking near a river. It's like, well, yeah, like most people spend their time indoors. So like when they end up by a river, like they're like, oh, this is nice, because they think it's nice. Like I don't think there's anything magical about the river that makes them think like become like happier or anything. It's just like one of those things where it's like, yeah, who doesn't like to be next to a good river or whatever? But there probably is at least one person out there who would hate being outside by a river, right?
Yeah.
So that's just like when you're taking the average of the population, it's like, well, yeah,
that's true.
On average, people like that kind of thing. But then there's probably somebody who their house could be a total pigsty and they're like perfectly happy with it.
Oh, I'm sure. Like there's definitely some hoarders who like feel comforted by stuff around them. Like they feel like
like a coziness almost.
Yeah. Like they like all that stuff.
Yeah, I definitely don't want... I'm not that kind of hoarder. I don't want the stuff to be around. I just want to know that I could access it.
Right.
Like if I could have the bag from Harry Potter or whatever, where it's just like an infinite bag of holding.
Yes.
and I can just Accio old USB with pictures of me getting my hair cut.
It's so annoying. Like when you have a specific memory in mind and you want to look for the photo for it, and all you get is like image this or image that, and you like have no idea where that photo is.
That is another nice thing about Google Photos is you can search by like thing in the image, which is like super wild that they could do that. But like the just image recognition of Google, like you can just say like photo of me at a party, and then it'll just like come up with like 50 photos of me at a party.
Gosh.
I'm just like, wow,
that's amazing. That's what I need.
Yeah.
That would be really nice. I know like my phone does that. If I am searching, I can search on my phone for like animals or whatever.
I showed Mom that today and she was blown away. I think she was also kind of like, but why? But yeah, I took a picture of something and then like it immediately came up with like all the places you can buy that thing. And she's like, what? Has that always been there? And I'm like,
wow. Yeah, it is pretty mind-blowing what the world is capable of these days. It's insane.
She asked how she could scan a QR code. So that sent us down a rabbit hole.
She didn't know about that yet?
No, like, so they added it. Honestly, it's been on Android, it's been pretty like random. It's like in the previous iterations, it's been like you either have to download a special app or some models of the phone come with the app, but then it's like different models have different apps that are like built in with the functionality. But finally, Google was just like, it's the Google app. And you can do it.
Wow.
So
it's in an app? Like you can...
Yeah, like, you know how, like, like, I don't know, like 5 years ago, you couldn't just, like, take a picture of a QR code and it automatically, like, opens it. Like, you need, like, something that can read the QR code.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so it would be like you have to previously on Google, you would have to, like, grab a random app or something like that, or if it were built in, it's like, well, on the Samsung phones, you go to the Samsung camera app, and then you go to the Bixby section, and you're just like, okay. But now they finally just like added it to like the Google search bar. There's like a little camera on the side, and that thing is amazing, by the way, because you can just like in real time, like it can translate stuff like in the screen. It can like you can copy text just like off of like whatever's in front of you. Like you just literally just like lift up your phone and like hold your finger on the text, and it'll just like copy it to your clipboard.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing!
It's wild.
And that's straight from.
And I was telling.
That's straight from your phone. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Oh.
And I was telling Mom about that. I was like, yeah, if you ever like get a thing where somebody gives you a piece of paper with a huge long code on it and they're like, go type that in, and you don't want to type that in, then you can just like take a picture of it with your phone and then like copy the text.
Oh yeah, I can do that too. That's good.
Yeah. But yeah, it can also do it in real time, even like translate signs and stuff.
Yeah, see, that's
if you're
cool.
like in France and you don't know French.
Yeah, I think that would
That's
be
pretty
super
cool.
handy.
Like I was talking about in last episode, if you were like in another country and you wanted to buy socks and you didn't know what any of the shops were, like that would be your best bet. Would just pull that up and be like, this says clothing store, so I'm going in here.
It's true. I actually made a TikTok recently. Well, not recently. It was like a few weeks ago.
Is it because of your grandfather clock?
No, not at all. Nope, nothing like that. It was just about being in the future. I said, does anyone else feel like they are living in the future? Because sometimes I'll just like realize I'll do something. Like I think that day I had, I was cleaning, and so I had my Roomba like vacuuming my house. I had my dishes going in the dishwasher. I ordered food from the grocery store, and I don't know, like there was just all these different like technological things I was doing, and like I drove up and somebody brought the groceries to my car, and like I don't know, there was all these different things. And I'm thinking like, you know,
you're sitting on the couch doing all your chores,
basically, and I'm thinking like it wasn't that long ago that I had to do all this stuff by myself. Like I lived at a time in the world and where none of that was possible. Like, and then now I'm thinking like, wow, you know, I just felt like I had a moment of where I felt like I was in the future, like from being a child to being now. I was like, wow. I mean, I guess I am in the future from being a child, but I mean, it was just such a weird feeling to like stop and think about what was actually happening in my life that day. I was like, wow.
Yeah, I wonder, that is such a Gen X thing to say, by the way.
Thanks.
But the future hasn't even gotten to where I wanted to be.
I know. I mean, it's going to go so far.
No, but yeah, I totally agree with you. Like, especially if you had to go back in time, like any amount of time, I feel like nobody could survive. Everybody's got those like nostalgic rose-colored glasses. Like when I was a kid, it was so much better. People actually liked the video games. But then like you actually go back in time and you play them and you're like, oh my God, they're like 2 pixels.
Archaic.
And you go back even further to like, oh, I loved reading comic books in my basement in the 80s. And it's just like, really go like into a dingy basement and read comics if
filled with mold and like stuffy hot. Yeah.
People remember stuff as like being cool. Even like, especially when, you know, people from the 50s, for example, like make a movie about the 50s and it's all glorified and wonderful and everything looks so much fun. And like, oh yeah, you're zipping around and popping your soda pops on the gas station, the gas pump and all that stuff. It's like, yeah, that sounds super cool until you actually had to like live in the 50s.
I know, like the day to day was probably no fun, but
yeah, it's like you can always do kind of like a carnival fun expression of a time period. But then like for newer generations, it's like that haven't actually experienced the 50s. Even more so than the nostalgic rose-colored glasses, people that have experienced the 50s. It's like, oh, that time period just sounds so much fun. So great. Like, why did we ever get here? Like, oh gosh, everything's so terrible.
Yeah, I know. Actually, there's these YouTube videos of like the 1900s and that time period, and they're actually like videos.
You mean when I was born?
Or no, well, no.
The 1900s.
Let me see. Like, let me look it up. YouTube.
Like before the 1910s.
Yes.
I think I sent you like the colorized ones of the farmer and stuff.
Well, these are black and white from like the 1920s and stuff. 1910s, 1920s.
Maybe.
Well, they're black and white, but that's probably similar to something that you sent me. But anyways, it's like the first kind of videos that they did, and it's basically like live streams of just streets and people and different things like that, just life, you know, going on. And it's just really like makes you think about how different it was and just like how hard it was, you know, like how hard they had it.
It's like basic things.
Like, simple things that you just take for
like,
granted.
I got to go buy groceries today. It's like, well, you got to go to the bakery and get the bread, and then you got to go to the butcher and get the meat, and then you got to go, and like he may or may not have the pigs ready, and then if he does, maybe a lot of other people want it, and you got to haggle with him. And then for each of these people, by the way, you're paying cash, so you got to bring the right amount of money that you could potentially need in correct denominations, unless they can like, you know, break certain amounts of money. Then you gotta like go to the pharmacy and like tell the guy that you need the prescription ready before you go start the other stuff, so that it can be done by the time you get there, because otherwise you're gonna have to drive all the way home, which is like a half hour away, and then you gotta come all the way back to get your prescription.
Yeah,
it's like a whole thing.
It's crazy. And to think that like your grandparents lived during that time is just weird. It's just weird to think about how much has changed from then to now. It's like, and then how much is going to change from now to when your kids or your grandkids are our age. You know what I mean? It's like, it's crazy.
Yeah. And it's like, and when I was young and having fun, it was way better than this time where I'm old and decrepit.
Of course.
Like, well, maybe that has something to do with your
I still think that
personal.
I loved my time period, but you know, it is probably,
if you were being raised now, you'd love this time period.
Of course, yeah. I mean, because you don't know any different. So that's how it is. Like, you don't know.
Well, now you would know. Now you know now.
Well, I know, but it's like, like me as an adult isn't going to appreciate now as a child. So I'll never fully know like what it's like to grow up in this time period. But I can watch children growing up and think like, oh, they seem like they're enjoying it, but I don't know.
They seem like people continue to exist.
They continue to exist and evolve and seem to be okay, I guess. I don't know. Some kids are not, but I don't know. That's every generation, though.
I remember being so fascinated by like being able to get on the internet and stuff, and like get in chat rooms and being able to like talk to people that were like a million miles away potentially. And it's like, that's so wild. And like, I felt like otherwise I wouldn't really know anybody. Like, I mean, so some of the friends I've had for the longest, that like pretty much my core friend group that comes and we like hang out every Wednesday, they're all like people I met online, and they're all like, you know, like people that I met playing video games and stuff, and like heard in a chat room, and we were like yelling like dirty insults to each other, and then we're like, anyways, want to play another game? And then we just like hung out.
Yeah. I think that's pretty common now too, where like people's true closest friends are friends that they met online. And I think that's one positive to having, you know, the online space and social media and stuff like that, and even gaming, I guess. But I never really considered it gaming, but I guess that makes sense. Yeah, is that you?
Yeah, I mean, not even necessarily that though. Like even like in early social media sites, like MySpace. I used to like do this like kind of anime inspired social media site called Gaia Online. That was all like little anime avatars and stuff, and like all the weeaboos would go and get together. And like I especially like meeting all these people with like super similar interests to you, and like being able to explore like so many more options as like being a human versus like, you grew up in this town and like they play basketball there, so you're going to play basketball, and you know Todd because he's your neighbor. Like, like you know, like it's like your options are those things.
Right,
so
you're forced together with these people, whereas these are people you have to choose. You get to choose because, it's like more intentional with people you meet online, or people who are in a situation that has like you said a similar interest to bond you guys. And you typically, if you like that, you're probably more similar in other ways too. So it makes sense. Whereas like the traditional friend route is, like you're forced together you may or may not like the same things. You may or may not get along, or you just gotta make it work. But then you fall apart eventually because you're totally different people and you like different things. And that's probably why I don't have any friends, because I never, I didn't really grow up online. I was like out in the, the world. So
yeah, that's essentially, I feel like that's a big thing from, I don't know, a lot of older like generations, that just like you grow apart from people. It's mostly because like, well, there's no way to keep up with them really, like efficiently, like, and you're not also used to the type of hanging out that is like non-personal or not like non-physical.
Right.
Like I would be perfectly fine like if my relationship with my friends converted to a completely online relationship, because that's how we started. Like, that was how we grew up. That's how we like hung out in high school. We didn't actually, we went to different high schools. There were like people that we didn't know each other that closely. They lived in Orlando, but that was about it.
Yeah. I love that for you though, because
oh, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it turned out really good, and it is also such a good thing for any kids too that just are struggling in school, or their particular, school that they're going to, their classes, and maybe they don't fit in with like that, group or whatever at school. And so they feel, because other kids, like, they don't have the other option of meeting other kids from other schools. And so they're kind of just stuck there. And if it's not a good fit, then they just struggle throughout, without any other options. So
yeah,
good.
I feel like you can be an outsider to any like one community, but you can't be like an outsider to the world, But the thing is when you're growing up, like, you don't have the option to go explore the world. And a lot of people, even when they grow up, they don't have the means to go explore the world. But with the internet, you can.
Yeah. Yeah, true.
You can get to any community.
I will say that I think the closest, like the people that I felt the closest to and the people that I've had the best conversations with or felt, like true friendships with have mostly been online. And we've never like met in person. Well, actually I met like maybe one or two at most over the years, but so we're still just like internet friends, and we'll probably never meet because we live in different countries even. So it's like, but it's just such a weird thing that you can connect with somebody that you never, ever, ever would have ever met if it were a different time. But you're so similar that and you're interested in the same things. And I don't know, it's so bizarre, but it's so cool. Obviously, it can turn a different way and just turn into like a catfish situation. And like really, there's obviously bad things that happen on the internet. But
obviously, like it's not good if anything like that were to happen to a person while they're young. But I also feel like I became a lot more worldly than I would have, like, just by having access to the internet when I was young. Like, being able to, like, even in, like, going back to the video games, like, being in, Call of Duty lobbies where people, like, talk about the craziest, like, weirdest stuff. Just, like, in little, like, 5 minutes, almost like a chat roulette situation where it's, like, a match is going to be 15 minutes. So you have 15 minutes to talk to the people that are in this room. And everybody has, like, a different, idea or story or something to talk about, and you hear about like so many things from so many different types of people, and a lot of people in those lobbies have like no filter, like they're not there to say anything that is it's almost like the catharsis of yelling into the void, but there's actually other people in this particular void. And then in 15 minutes, boom, you're in another void. So it's just kind of like the anonymity of being able to just like talk about stuff that allows people to be, I don't know if I'd say honest, but like
a little more authentic.
It is honest in a way. Authentic. Yeah, that would probably be the way to put it. Authentic in a way that like a lot of times they were, joking, just kind of like shooting crap at each other, like saying like stupid insults and stuff. But like everybody understood the like idea behind it. And so they understood each other. And like when, somebody would talk about, I don't know, something serious, I guess. If you ever there's like a YouTube rabbit hole you can go down of like people having really deep and serious conversations in VR chat.
Yeah.
You've seen those? They're like, it's some of the most surreal stuff because like, again, like it's the sort of situation where people feel like totally able to open up and like talk about like really insane stuff
Right.
to a room full of complete strangers, because they know they will always be strangers. Like they can log off tomorrow and that's it. Like they never have to see those people again. So they'll have like some of the most like weird and deep conversations with like random strangers, because it's like, you know, cathartic that way. And so like you kind of, and when I was younger and being in those kind of communities where people will just like, you know, you never know what's true, but then you learn that as well, like being like bamboozled on the internet a few times. Like you start to learn like, okay, like there are some people out there that aren't going to say truthful things. But yeah, just like in a certain way that like really equipped me in a way that I can definitely tell like I'm behind when I look forward at like the Gen Zers and stuff that are already like, oh, you don't even know the kind of like scams that are out there now. And like the crazy like cyberbullying and like weird stuff that you know, kids have to deal with.
Right.
And then but also like looking in the back, like rear view mirror, and seeing like older people that like are like, I don't know, I clicked on this email, they said they were gonna give me $200 and I'm like, oh
yeah, I know, there's so many scams out there. Poor old people, they get attacked so badly. But yeah, I kind of envy that in a way, just because it is so freeing to have that as an option and to really allow yourself to be open to strangers in that way, where like growing up for me, and even when the internet was becoming a thing and chatting online was becoming a thing, and you know, groups, online groups were, it's like, it was unheard of to speak to a stranger online. Like if you opened yourself up to a stranger online, it was a death sentence. That's kind of how it was viewed. It was very scary.
You were going to be somebody was going to show up in front of your house. They were going to drag you out and throw you into their trunk.
I mean, I don't know if it was just like presented that way, or if it was just like a common understanding, or whatever. It
was as if like I felt like every parent in the world immediately decided that the internet was like a back alley.
Yeah,
and like anybody you meet back there is a psychopath, and you're gonna die.
Like I guess because it was so new and it was such a like unknown thing that it was kind of feared, I guess, and uncertain. And it was like it obviously opened up doors for things like that.
I feel like with every version of technology goes through that, where everybody's like, oh my god, this is the worst thing to ever adorn and so it always feels like the worst thing ever is happening on the internet, whereas like meanwhile we're like super used to almost everything that you know, has been, all the technologies that have been developed.
I know, it's so funny. But also like I was thinking about it, and I was thinking like it wasn't until very recently that I felt, I mean, when I say very recently, like within the last 15 years or something like that, that I felt comfortable talking to a stranger online, or even making my accounts public and allowing people to talk to me. Like if anybody sent me a friend request or a message, I was like, no. If I didn't know them personally, if I didn't like speak to them or like know them, it was like, no. Because I think I just had that resounding like, or you know, it just stuck with me that, this could be bad. Like, this could be a bad person trying to talk to me. And it was just because I was what
mostly I do that too, but that's just because that's what I do in real life. Like, people will come up to me and like at a party and be like, hey, I've seen you here a couple times. Like, you want to hang out? And I'm like, no, that's weird. You're kind of weird for asking, and I'll see you never. Bye.
That's true. I do that too. I was like, I think that's part of the introvert too. I was like, do I really want to let another person into my life? No. But there is the safety.
And I'm like, this is your friend request, and I throw it in the
trunk. There is a safety online with that, which I like a lot. But it's more controlled.
As long as you don't meet them in a dark alley.
Right. Like no meeting. There's no meeting.
I think also like it became sort of a progressive idea around that time to be like, oh no, you can't trust people. Whereas like I think like in earlier America, like probably early 1900s or even earlier, like little towns being relatively safe. I mean, like, again, like I was saying, like a lot of little towns, you would know pretty much everybody. Like, you know Jim because he's your neighbor. So that's just like, if you go outside, you're going to see Jim. Yeah. Like everybody knows like who you're going to run into. Like, and then I don't know, like as things got more and more like connected and cities became bigger and bigger thing, like you had more just like randos and creeps like able to do things, that make people terrified at night. So
yeah.
even if it's relatively very rare, just the idea that it's now possible, it like shifted the perception to be like, no, you can't trust people. And then so like as soon as it became yet another expansion of like, okay, now anybody can talk to you at any time, it's like, oh, I can't trust this. Like people are gonna, there's weirdos out there, you can't trust people,
Right.
so and in a way, like I don't think it's like a necessarily bad thing to have a certain amount of suspicion about anybody online.
Yeah.
But it's so I think maybe it was a better place than to be naively very like, oh, everybody on the internet, yeah, this is my name, this is where I live, like come hang out, like let's have like pretending like he's just Jim next door. It's like,
right.
hey, come on in, the keys under the rock in the front yard.
That's so funny because some people do that. Some people are totally okay with it, and I'm like, ugh, why would you want to do that?
Like online or just like doing that with people?
Both, like just still welcome anybody anytime. And I'm like, well, you can't trust everybody. I'm definitely not like that. I'm like, I have to vet people before I even speak to them. Like, you will be vetted.
Probably a good practice.
Yeah, I mean, like it's so weird. So I was walking the dogs the other day, and this car. Okay, so this is a thing that people do apparently because it happens to me more than once. But there was a car. It pulled up next to us and rolled down the window, and it was a nice woman. It was like, she was like in her mid 40s, maybe 50. She looks at me and she just like stops where we are, and she's like, oh my gosh, your dogs are so pretty. She's being very nice. Like the dogs are really cute. And I was like, oh, sure. Thanks. Like I'm just dog sitting but thank you. And she's like, yeah, I really like them. And then she like drove off, and I was like, I would die before I did that. Like, I don't know. Like, who does that? But and the minute she stopped, I was like, who are you? What do you want? Like, I was immediately like,
yeah, like you're immediately like,
I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Oh.
And that's happened to me again. Like I was walking the dogs again another day. This is a different set of dogs. And this man stops and rolls down his window and just starts having like small chat with me. And I'm like, who are you?
I think he mentioned this. Yeah.
Yeah, it's happened again. It was just a different time. I remember. Yeah, that time I was alone. I didn't have dogs with me.
Oh, great.
But this time I did have dogs with me. And I don't know if it was like an excuse to stop and talk to me. I don't know. But I'm like, that is just weird to me. I'm like, but they seemed it was so normal. And I was like, I don't.
Yeah, but I definitely feel like as I've gotten older, I've gotten like a lot more casual about like, I still don't really want to like get into like too much of a thing with people, but I've certainly relaxed on the idea of like, it's awkward to talk to people to the point where like, sometimes I'll end up in conversations with people just because like, I don't know, like I'll mention something to them in the checkout line or something, and then we end up like talking for a couple minutes, and I'm just kind of like, this is weird. Like, how did this happen? But I wouldn't go as far as to like pull over on the side of the road and like get
that's what I mean.
Like, hi, what dogs?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like that's like a whole nother level, because I've passed people while walking, like they're walking their dog or they're on a walk, and they'll say hi or they'll say like, oh, cute dogs, and keep walking. That doesn't seem that weird to me. That's kind of just like you're passing each other, so you're kind of obligated to make eye contact. You're kind of, like if you have something to say it as you're walking by, whatever. But
sure.
But to actually pull up and stop. Oh, and another time. Okay, so this is weird. Like, I'm starting to wonder. I'm not like paranoid or anything, but so there's another car. It was like an SUV, totally different compared to the other people. They pulled up to the stop sign where I was, and I was like in front of them, walking the dogs again. And I don't know, maybe it's the dogs, but this is a common pattern.
Still magnets. Maybe,
but like, so there, and I feel like it was a woman in this car. Maybe there were two people in the car. I can't remember because I didn't really like want to make eye contact. I was doing the whole, I'm avoiding looking at you, but they were like watching me, and then they passed me and then started to turn onto the street, like the next street. But then they stopped, and the dogs were like smelling the grass. So I look over at the car, and they're just like out their window staring at me. And I'm like, what are you doing? Are you staring at me? I was like, you must be looking.
Just like wave.
I'm starting to think like, is it me or are they looking at something else? I was like hoping like maybe they're looking at a tree or something like.
Yeah, they're like, is that a poplar?
But then like I was like really looking at them, and then they like drove off, and I was thinking like, what's going on? Like what? Like are these dogs unique, like so unique that do they deserve a two drive-by look? Like, I don't know.
A double take.
I don't know. So
yeah, that's pretty bizarre. That's that's weird.
And it's all in my own neighborhood, so that's what's really weird about it. So I'm like, and they don't seem weird. They seem like normal people. So it's not, like I'm not worried.
Like
it's just
it is. It does like get your guard up though. That there are definitely certain people that take advantage of that kind of like, if they can just get you into a conversation situation, they like try and steer it to where like, yeah. So anyways, I need some money for the bus or whatever, and I'm like, oh, okay, well,
yeah.
It's a weird situation.
I know,
for sure. Definitely puts you on edge, and definitely makes you feel like, especially like if you're just walking around your neighborhood, like, hello, can I help you?
It's very strange. It's just, I think it's strange to me because it's not something that I would do. So it's like, if it's, I'm sure there's plenty of things that people do that I just wouldn't do that are totally normal and like whatever. Because there's lots of extroverts out there that are really cool people and they do really cool, like crazy things, and I'm like, whoa, I would never do that. But you go for it. You do what you got to do.
You do what you got to do.
Yeah, I mean, like, I appreciate you for who you are. But then there's other things where I'm thinking, like, is that like a normal thing? And I'm just weird. Maybe I'm the weird one. Maybe it's like they're being super nice and I'm like overreacting. I don't know. But
yeah, you are, Lisa. Chill.
Like, I don't know. It's just weird.
Anyways.
Yeah, it's been a while.
And that's been the No Kidding Podcast. Thanks for coming around. Thanks for showing up. That's right. The outro is the thing this week, not the intro. We don't do intros anymore. We do outros until next week.
I'm Lisa.
I'm Andrew. And this has been
the No Kidding Podcast.
Hey. Perfect execution. Excellent. I'm glad we planned that.
I know.
I think people will be excited. People like it when you shake things up, If things get too regular, they're like, ooh, that's stale. Ooh. That's out. That's not flocka.
I'm bored.
What are the terms that the young chillins are using?
Chillins? They're definitely not using chillins.
Okay, well.
That's
you know what? That's a
stan. They stand